Malabo is the capital of Equatorial Guinea and of province of Bioko Norte. It is located on the north coast of the island of Bioko Island, formerly known by the Bubis, its autochthonous inhabitants, as Etulá and as Fernando Poo by the Europeans, and has a population of approximately 187,302 inhabitants. The languages city officials, as well as across the country, are the Spanish, the French and Portuguese. Malabo is the oldest city of Equatorial Guinea. That is why it can see a lot of buildings with colonial architecture at the same time coexist with modern buildings built in the last and recent stage. The downtown streets, with a square design, reveal the ancient conception of modern city with pedestrian areas at all. The city also offers numerous green areas and leisure. This phenomenon causes a feeling of architecture attenuated by the low height of buildings in a combination of architectural westernization and Africanism. Ayala is a planned city currently under construction, designed to replace Malabo as the capital. History Discovery and Portuguese conquest In 1472, in an attempt to find a new route to the India, the Portuguese navigator Fernando Poo discovered the island of Bioko, which he called Formosa. Later the island was named after its discoverer, Fernando Poo. At the beginning of 16th century, specifically in 1507, the Portuguese Ramos de Esquivel made a first attempt at colonization on the island of Fernando Poo. He established a factory in Concepción and developed plantations of sugarcane, but the hostility of the insular Bubis people and diseases ended this experience quickly. With the treaties of San Ildefonso in 1777 and El Pardo in 1778, during the reign of the Spanish King Carlos III, the Portuguese gave to the Spanish island of Fernando Poo, a Noba and the right to conduct trade in the mainland, an area of influence approximately of 800,000 miles squared in Africa, in exchange for the Colonia del Sacramento in the River Plate and the Santa Catalina island off the Brazilian coast. The area stretching from the Niger Delta to the mouth of Oga 1/4 a copyright river in the current Gabon and included, besides the islands of Fernando Poo and Annobon, the islets of Corisco and Elabase. Failed its various unsuccessful attempts to colonize these lands, Spain for its internal problems, lost interest in Spanish Guinea in 1827 and authorized the British use the island as a base for the work of persecution of the slave trade. British presence In 1821, the British Captain Nelly approached the island of Fernando Poo. He found abandoned and founded the establishments of Melville Bay and San Carlos. Some years later, another British captain, William Fitzwilliam Owen, decided to colonize the island and set in the north of it in the site of the present capital a base for British ships chasing European dealers of slaves. Thus arises, the December 25 of 1827 Port Clarence on the ruins of a previous Portuguese settlement. The name was chosen in honor of the Duke of Clarence, who later became Williams IV. The Bubis indigenous to the island called it Ripota. The population of the capital was increased by the arrival of freed slave of ship captured by the British Navy who decided to stay and live on the island. The settlement of the freedmen in Port Clarence preceded the formation of Sierra Leone as a colony for freed slaves. The descendants of these people enslaved and freed remain on the island. They joined other migrants arrived as free workers from Liberia, Sierra Leone, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Benin, Nigeria and Cameroon, constituting a population group called Creole or Fernandinos, and whose own language the Pidgin Bantu English with Spanish elements. During the period of the British presence, British consuls automatically became governors of the colony, including Governor John Beecroft, a British mulatto sailor who modernized the capital, whose work was recognized later by Spain erecting a monument which is located in Punta Fernanda. Spanish definitive control and new capital In 1844, when Queen Elizabeth II ruled after the regency of her mother Maria Cristina and Baldomero Espartero, in an attempt to modernize Spain and rescuing its heritage, Spain let him know the UK its desire to regain control of the colony and thus the island. It took another decade to implement this direct control. The capital already had more dynamic and Protestant religious missions were very successful. Both factors helped to change the attitude of Spain, in addition to internal reasons already alluded. Spain again took control of the island in 1855 and the capital Port Clarence was renamed Santa Isabel, in honor of the Queen Isabel II of Spain. The capital of the island of Fernando Poo became the capital of Equatorial Guinea. Its present name was given in 1973 as part of the campaign of President Marcos Nguema to replace the place names of European origin with African names properly, honoring Malabo Lopelo Melaka, the last Bubi king. Malabo, son of King Moka, surrendered to the Spaniards, while his uncle Sazabura, head of the Bubi warriors, claimed the legitimacy of Bubi rule and opposed with value to the Spaniards. After the murder of Sazabura by the Spanish, Malabo became king without opposed, but without authority. Bubi clans and localities were slow to accept Spanish sovereignty over the island, and even 1912 was not achieved by conquest and pacification of the whole island. Reign of Terror during the so-called Reign of Terror of Marcos Nguema, the dictator suppressed much of the intelligentsia of the country, initiating the process of taking over the positions of the public administration, by part of the natives of Mungamo and Clan Isangi. Many city residents had to leave. In the last years of his mandate, almost a fifth of the population fled. Still today Malabo tries to heal his wounds from that period, while the successor as head of state, Teodoro Obiang Nguema with his Democratic Party of Equatorial Guinea, dictator from 1979 by a coup that overthrew Marcos has not made improvements of any kind. Behind near the barracks next to Governor's Palace, next to a black beach at the mouth of the Sul River, is the shameful and famous Black Beach Prison, also known as Blay Beach Prison, where several people have been jailed in the over 35 years of dictatorship. Among those imprisoned and tortured numerous times are many political leaders as Fabia Nnsue, Felipe Ondo Obang, Marta Npu of Movement for the Self-Determination of Bioko Island, or Placido Micah Cubed of the Social Democratic Convergence for Social Democracy. Geography. Malabo is situated north of the island of Bioko, at coordinates 3°45' 7.43 inches north and 8°46' 25.32 east. The south of Malabo is limited by the Sul River, and just across the river, southwest, is the hospital. West of the city, located about 9 kilometers from the center of Malabo, is renewed Malabo International Airport. In the coastal region north of the city are the bays and capes. The elder is the Punta de la Unidad Africana, located just behind the presidential palace and which occupies the entire eastern part of the Bay of Malabo. Another cape of importance is Punta Europa, located in the west of the city near to the airport. Climate. Malabo features a tropical monsoon climate. Malabo sees on average 1,800 mm of rain per year. The city has a pronounced, albeit short dry season from December through February. February is normally its driest, with 33 mm of rain falling on average. It also has a very lengthy wet season that covers the remaining 9 months. On average, the months hit hardest by the wet season are from September to October, with 500 mm of rain falling between them. Daytime temperatures do not vary at all day to day, and only vary a few degrees throughout the entire year. At night, the average low temperature is 21 to 22 degrees in every month of the year, apart from January when average low is 19 degrees. January has cooler nights and hotter days because it has clearer weather. Nonetheless, Malabo, with only 1,180 hours of sunshine per year, is one of the gloomiest capitals in the world and experiences much fog even when it is not raining. Administration. The current mayor is Mara Akoloma Ejang Bingono, who establishes that municipal services prescribed by law on which are the responsibility of the municipality are, drinking water and others public sources, lighting, paving of roads, cemeteries, cleaning and sanitation, the sanitary waste treatment and waste, disinfecting and insect, emergency first aid, health inspections and drinks, health inspection of poor housing, sanitation, public banks, slaughterhouses, markets and the elimination of stagnant water, among others. List of mayors since 1960. Cultural centers, through the Spanish Agency for International Cooperation for Development, are made several development projects at both regional and national level. headquartered in the Technical Cooperation Office in Malabo, carried out actions for the development of the culture, health, education and institutional strengthening. Stressing the cultural center of Spain in Malabo, founded in 2003, where young people are encouraged to feel a cultural space where they can unleash their creative freedom. It also has 3 geographical axes, in order to capture the largest number of people in the region and contribute to its development. Activities include the training, art, film, theater, music and games, with the 2 main festivals, Traveling Film Festival of Equatorial Guinea and the International Festival of Hip Hop in Malabo. A major museums is the Museum of Modern Art in Equatorial Guinea, with traditional and contemporary art of the country and the continent. In the city also it is the National Library, which was built in 1916. Demographics: Malabo has a relatively young population. Approximately 45% of its population does not exceed 15 years. About 4% of the population is over 65 years. Most of the population lives in rural areas of the island. Religion: the city, according to the rest of the country, is predominantly Catholic, fact reflected in the Western colonialism. More than 80% of the city population is Catholic and about 4% is some sort of tribal religion. The Islam is also present in the city and the Judaism. Some Christian communities, such as Mormon and JW, are also present in Malabo, although in smaller numbers. Economy: Malabo is the commercial and financial center. Malabo's economy is based on the administration and other services. Also the trade: it is one of the most prominent and important economic activities, especially since the arrival of companies from the U.S. which exploit oil wells close to the coast. This trade is also given by the presence of other Americans, of Latin Americans, Nigerian, Cameroon, Spanish and other inhabitants of the countries of Central Africa that increase trade. In Malabo is the headquarters of the BEAC or Bank of Central African States. Its building was built by the Banco Popular Espar plus or minus oil, but after independence became the seat of Bando de Guinea Equatorial. The substantial profits from oil exploitation have not been applied in reducing poverty of the city nor the country. The main industry of the city is the development of fish, while cacao and coffee are the main products of export. Malabo has port of high tonnage connected mainly with the ports of Douala and Bata, and airlink via an international airport. There are about 300 hotel beds, of which only 50 are of quality. Education: the National University of Equatorial Guinea and the National Distance Education University, the latter Spanish, have headquarters in the city. The Colegio Nacional Enrique Nva Cubdoconv, one of the country's universities, has one of its 2 campuses in the city. International schools: Colegio Espar plus or minus Old Don Bosco, Liquor Copyright Efrana Section A's de Malabo, Equatorial Guinea Turkish International College. Attractions: Malabo is a city that preserves buildings from the colonial era such as the Presidential Palace and the Palace of Justice of Malabo. In the downtown are also found other colonial buildings, although they are worn as the wooden buildings of 19th century of Nigeria and Ray Bonkoro streets. Notable buildings stand out as the Cathedral of Santa Isabel, which is in turn based on the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Malabo. It is a temple of neo-Gothic style, built between 1897 and 1916. Its architect was Luis Segarra Morada, cubed and paid by contributions from the government of Spain and donations of faithfuls. It has 2 towers of 40 meters high. Maybe the same Anthony Gorda oversee the plans. Other points of interest are La Gaditana, formerly known as Finca Amalivia, prior to 1918, the Casa Teodolita in 1902 and one of the oldest in the city, the building of the City Hall of Malabo, the Church of Ilanguema, the Independence Square, the Casa de Espar plus or minus A and the Bay of the Harbour. Gastronomy: are famous the restaurants where are served grilled fish dishes, are cooked crocodile meat dishes, wild boar and antelope with tomato sauce, modica, eggplant or peanut, rice, fermented cassava, fried or cooked banana. Transport. Public transport system: the The system of public transport of the capital includes service of buses to make the journey between downtown of Malabo and the neighborhood of Ilanguema, of taxis circulating the city and outlying areas, and car hire called Avis and Europcar. Maritime transport the port of Malabo can reach a theoretical treatment capacity of 200,000 tons year. The main maritime links are with national destination to Bata and international to Spain and Douala in Cameroon. Aviation the Malabo International Airport serves the city. It is located 7 kilometers from the center in Punta Europa. It covers long-distance direct flights to Europe and some African capitals. Operating companies are Iberia, Swiss, KLM and British Airways. The highest percentage of air traffic constitute links to Bata, Douala, Cotonou and Libreville by airlines Cameco, Air Gabon and EGA. Sports, the main sports facility of Malabo, and the country, is the Novo Estadio de Malabo, with capacity for more than 15,000 spectators. In it were played international matches, like of the 2012 Africa Cup of Nations, or where played the Spain national football team, at the time world champion. At this stage also plays its games the main club of the country, the Sony Ilanguema. Other clubs play its home games at Estadio Internacional, with capacity for 6,000 spectators, and where played its matches the Equatorial Guinea national football team until the Novo Estadio was opened. The 2012 Africa Cup of Nations was organized jointly by Gabon and Equatorial Guinea, and one of the 4 venues of the tournament was the Novo Estadio de Malabo, the main stadium of the country, inaugurated in 2007. In Malabo were disputed 6 matches of the group stage, and 1 cross of quarter-finals. The November 16, 2013, the Spain national football team played a friendly match against the Equatorial Guinea national football team. It was the first visit of a European team in the country, and the match was criticized by several organizations, including the president of the LFP Javier Tebas, due to the political situation of the country and the government of Teodoro Obiang. Some of the top clubs in the country, who have won several times the Primera División de Guinea Equatorial, are from the city of Malabo. The club with the most league titles is the Sony Ilanguema with 14. Other clubs from the city that have been proclaimed league champions are the Renacimiento Football Club, the Atla Copyrightico Malabo or Café Bank Sportif. Another club of the city is the Atla Copyrightico Simu, once champion of Equatorial Guinean Cup. Another important club from the city is the Malabo Kings of Basketball, which was champion of the country, and in 2013 was proclaimed champion Central Zone of Africa Basketball Championship, winning in Kinshasa at Talia from Gabon. The Malabo Kings had already finished second in 2011, Yaoundé. In 2013 held in Malabo on I-Campus of Basketball Ciudad de Malabo, organized by the Equatorial Guinea Basketball Federation and Club de Ball and Sesto Canegiro from Spain. Discovery of oil. Malabo has been significantly affected by Teodoro Obiang Nguema growing cooperation with the oil industry. The country's production has reached 360,000 barrels per day as of 2004, an increase which led to a doubling of the city's population, but for the vast majority, very little of that wealth has been invested in development. International relations. Twin towns sister cities Malabo is twinned with Guadalajara, Mexico. Gallery. See also: Museum of Modern Art, Equatorial Guinea. References. External links: U.S. Embassy in Malabo.